Good morning, good evening, or good afternoon, depending on where and when you're watching this broadcast. I'm Thomas Festa, my friends, and this is Disclosure Tonight. Happy Saturday, April 11th. My friends, you've got 3 days left to go ahead and fill out your taxes. Are they done yet? I'll be doing mine after today's show, just to let you know. On that note, I want to go ahead and welcome everyone from the United Kingdom. This is the day that we go ahead and turn our production time back to go ahead and I'll give a disclosure tonight on appropriate time, 10 p.m. Our friends over across the pond. On that note, let's go ahead and welcome in our audience. Who the heck do we have out there? Let's take a look and see. We've got A. Phil is out there along with April. I see a black rectangle. Carl Joe Garrison's out in the chat. Good to see you, my friend. Digger Dog's there along with Firefly. John Geldhill. Kane Hart, good to see you. Maritime US. We got Max Metal, Ms. Cuss out. Niles Guy, our resident Pitbull. He's got a badge, my friend. He's not afraid to use it to pull those trolls out of here. What else do we have out there? We've got Plywood Pigeons in the chat along with Prison Films US. We got Sam, Scooby Dooby Gooby, first person who showed up today. Welcome, Scoob. Charlie Montgomery's out there along with Steve Mateo. We got the Chromosome Cowboy. They call it Coin 405 all the way from Sweden. How about that? We got Truth Seeker, Wee Beasties all the way from Australia. And our friend Yellow Tommy Tanker, also known as Andy, joining us from the United Kingdom. How about that? Let me just go ahead and get ready, jump into the studio and say, unexpectedly, Mike, how the hell are you?
Oh, I'm still alive and well, Thomas. And hopefully, moving forward, things will be improving. But like our friend Lou Elizondo, who is also in the hospital, I've been under the weather fighting with an infection, and I've been in the hospital as well. Yeah. But I'm stable and looking forward to what we're going to do on the show today, and eventually getting back on my feet and back out there again.
Yeah, it should be a good one. It's great to hear you're back. The audience has been, asking for you, asking what's going on. We kind of let them know what happened to you yesterday, and you got a lot of well wishes for everybody. Thank you, everybody, for sending your love and care to Mike. He could really appreciate it at this point in time. Where do we start this? Okay, so there is a press conference from NASA. Yes. It's a 15, 20-minute one. It's not too long. Let's go ahead and play this press conference that just happened. It was a live press event featuring all the astronauts that were just up on the Artemis II mission who came back to Earth just yesterday in the Orion capsule. Let's go ahead and jump to this press conference and see what our astronauts have to say about what they saw, how it went, and how they feel about being back on Earth. Let's jump to it.
Reed, Victor, Christina, and Jeremy, good luck. Godspeed, Artemis II. Let's go.
It was an amazing ride uphill. We have good separation, good motion.
Houston is go for TLI.
We have the start of the translunar injection burn that will send the crew around the moon, the first humans to do so in over 50 years.
You could see the entire globe from pole to pole. It was the most spectacular moment.
As of 30 seconds ago, you are now closer to the moon than you are to us on Earth. Good morning, Integrity, and good morning, Moon.
Window 1.
We look like we're smiling at you.
Good afternoon. Hey. Hold on. I don't know if you realize where you're at and what we've done, but we need some energy in here, okay? I mean, we just sent 4 people around the moon. You're in Houston, Texas. Let's try it again. Good afternoon. Hey. Awesome. That is awesome. Well, hello, everyone. I'm Norm Knight, Director of Flight Operations at NASA's Johnson Space Center. It is my honor to welcome you to Ellington Field in Houston as we celebrate the return of the Artemis II crew from their historic mission around the moon. This afternoon, we're not only celebrating their safe homecoming, we're recognizing a milestone in spaceflight history that advances America's bold return to deep space, this time to stay. I also want to extend a warm and sincere welcome to our distinguished guests who have joined us for this extraordinary moment. We are pleased to be joined by U.S. Representative Chairman Brian Babin, Representative Michael Cloud, and Chairman Greg Bonin. We're also glad to be joined by the staff of Senator Ted Cruz's office. And of course, to our NASA leadership and our partners across government, industry, and abroad, we can't do this alone. Most importantly, a warm welcome to the families of our crew. Their steadfast support, resilience, and love are the quiet force that power every mission we fly. And joining us, everyone joining us on NASA Plus and watching from around the world, thank you for following this mission and for standing with us in this defining moment for human spaceflight. Just 10 days ago, 4 extraordinary explorers, Reed, Victor, Christina, and Jeremy, launched aboard NASA's Space Launch System in the Orion spacecraft named Integrity on the first crewed Artemis mission, embarking on humanity's first journey beyond Earth's orbit in more than half a century. Last night, they returned to Earth with a safe splashdown in the Pacific Ocean. Today at Ellington Field, we welcome them home to Houston, Texas. With their safe return to their families, the Artemis II mission is now complete. Now, to help us bring this incredible crew out here, please join me in welcoming NASA Johnson Space Center Director Vanessa Weish to the stage.
Thank you, Norm. I love the energy in this room. To everyone joining us today, both in person and tuning in across the world, thank you. This is an extraordinary day, and it's your continued support that enables us to keep making giant leaps together. As Norm mentioned, just last night, Reed, Victor, Christina, and Jeremy splashed down off the coast of San Diego, concluding an unforgettable 10-day mission to the moon. Together, the crew and Integrity traveled over 680,000 miles in total, journeying around the far side of the moon and return home safely. marking a milestone within our agency's history that will echo for generations to come. Along the way, this crew completed critical demonstrations from Earth orbit operations to systems checkouts to the translunar injection burn and complex trajectory through cislunar space. For the very first time, Orion's life support systems were tested with astronauts on board, an essential mission milestone for deep space when we go there, further and further ahead. Beyond the data and demonstrations, this mission gave us something bigger, a powerful reminder of why we dare to explore. During a ship-to-ship call with the International Space Station, the crew shared a reflection that resonated around the world. How looking back at Earth, our bright, beautiful home, suspended in the vastness of space, reminds us how connected we are, how alike we are, and how precious this shared planet truly is. Millions globally felt that connection throughout this mission. People didn't just watch, they were invested. They cheered every milestone, they reveled in each heartfelt moment, and felt the triumph of this journey right alongside the crew. The excitement, the pride, the unmistakable moon joy, it is everywhere. And a new generation witnessed, if you can dream it, you can be it. And it will lead to countless students to become the next scientists, engineers, inventors, mathematicians, and astronauts who will dare to forge new frontiers in space and push the boundaries of what's possible for the benefit of all. Artemis II was designed to test, to learn, and to prepare, and it did exactly that. Its success is a testament to the dedication of thousands of people across the agency and the world who worked tirelessly with excellence, supporting the crew through every phase of training and execution. This is the golden age of exploration, defined by innovation, partnership, and a bold, renewed commitment to extend humanity's reach. This mission moves us closer to exploring more of the moon, unlocking scientific discoveries, expanding economic opportunity, and laying the groundwork for the first human missions to have a sustained presence on the moon and for us to have our astronauts venture to Mars. Today's celebration is about more than hardware and milestones. It is a celebration of 4 pioneers who represent the very best of humanity, who traveled farther than any humans have gone before, and who carried all of us along with them. And now they are home. It is, yes. It is with tremendous joy and pride that we welcome home Reed, Victor, Christina, and Jeremy. We often say that we stand on the shoulders of giants. After seeing them return from this mission, I have to say, their shoulders now seem even broader for the next generation to stand on. Thank you all, and I now have the pleasure of introducing and inviting our NASA Administrator, Jared Isaacman, to the stage to welcome the crew home.
Well, good afternoon, and welcome home, Artemis II. I'd like to begin by thanking President Donald Trump and our partners in Congress for giving us the mandate and the resources to make this mission and many others to come possible. I also want to acknowledge the contributions of the entire NASA workforce, our international partners at the European Space Agency and the Canadian Space Agency, and especially the American taxpayers. There is no doubt there is a price to pay when it comes to exploring the cosmos, but there is also a return in the jobs it creates, the technologies that improve life here on Earth, and the inspiration it sparks in all those who choose to follow. And to people all around the world who look up and dream about what is possible, the long wait is over. After a brief 53-year intermission, the show goes on, and NASA is back in the business of sending astronauts to the moon and bringing them home safely. This is why it is now my great privilege to welcome to the stage Commander Reed Wiseman, Pilot Victor Glover, Mission Specialist Christina Koch, and Mission Specialist Jeremy Hansen. Ladies and gentlemen, your Artemis II crew.
Space motion sickness on a ride.
Well, Artemis II crew, this moment is the result of years of hard work, absolute immense expertise, and just being all around great human beings. Now, of course, many of us already knew that, especially your families that supported you throughout your impressive careers and on this 250,000-mile mission from Earth. But now the world knows what incredible people you are, as you brought us all along with you on this epic journey of integrity. Over the last 10 days, you tested the SLS rocket, the Orion spacecraft, you manually piloted the vehicle, you performed critical operations, relayed scientific observations, captured inspiring pictures, and of course ventured farther into space than anyone in history on a true test mission. You were, of course, the first crew to fly on this rocket and spacecraft, and that comes with risk. You accepted that risk for what we collectively stood to gain, all that we have now learned from your mission, and for where we will inevitably go from here. But you're not alone. You took all of us along with you, the contributions from the pioneers of decades past, the love of your families here on Earth, and those that were watching over you from the stars. Artemis II is the opening act in America's return to the moon. As we stand here this evening, the mobile launcher is preparing to go back to the VAB. Artemis III will start being assembled, and the next crew will begin preparing to play their part as we return to the lunar surface, we build the base, and we never give up the moon again. Commander Wiseman, Reed, you said in an interview back in February that you hoped this mission would be forgotten, overshadowed by all that was to come after. But I'm very sorry to disappoint you all. Artemis II will always be remembered. It was the moment we all saw the moon again, where childhood dreams became missions. You helped the world start believing again. And this is something no one's ever going to forget. So on behalf of NASA and the space-loving community from around the world, thank you for showing us your courage, your professionalism, your unity, and your humanity. Thank you for showing us the moon again. Thank you for showing us planet Earth again. And thank you for contributing to the greatest adventure in human history. Welcome home, Artemis II. it's my honor to turn the floor over to Commander Reed Wiseman.
Yeah, let's sing. Let's sing real quick. All right, 3, 2, 1.
Integrity.
So we wear these Acta watches, and if you hit this button, the red light lights up, which tells you got a good battery. And I don't know why, but for the last 2 years when we wear these, hey Hopper, for the last 2 years when we wear these things, it just kind of brings us back into focus whenever we get a little distracted. So we did a lot of syncing when we were on this mission for no reason whatsoever. I have absolutely no idea what to say. This is 24 hours ago, the Earth was that big out the window and we were doing Mach 39, and here we are back at Ellington at home. Every one of us are just going to give a couple words, but I get the mic first, so I'm going to start. Victor, Christina, and Jeremy, we are bonded forever, and no one down here is ever going to know what the four of us just went through, and it was the most special thing that will ever happen in my life. And our families are over here, and with the exception of Dot, Susie, and Jeannie, who are in the audience, but I don't know where they are. But Dot, I'm going to hit McDonald's later today in honor of your husband. No one knows what the families went through, man. This was not easy. Being 200,000 plus miles away from home, like before you launch, it feels like it's the greatest dream on earth. And when you're out there, you just want to get back to your families and your friends. It's a special thing to be a human, and it's a special thing to be on planet Earth. Thank you. Wait, now I got to make a joke. The only person who can follow that up is Victor Glover, so let's go.
And now we're ready for questions. I'm going to keep it brief because I'm afraid to start talking. I have not processed what we just did, and I'm afraid to start even trying. When this started on April 3rd, I wanted to thank God in public. And I want to thank God again, because even bigger than my challenge trying to describe what we went through, the gratitude of seeing what we saw, doing what we did, and being with who I was with, it's too big to just be in one body. And I wanted to thank our families for everything that he just said. So great words, great words, great words. I love you, but not just those 5 beautiful cocoa skin ladies right there. All of you. And I wanted to thank our leadership. And it's changed since we were here in April of 2023. But the qualities haven't. And we are fortunate to be in this agency at this time together. And so I'm going to sit down. Thank you also to our air operations for this facility and for our ride home from San Diego. And I love you. Thank you.
Reed just said it was a setup for us who had to follow him. That's true. I couldn't sleep this morning, so I did write some words down in my mind, and I'm going to try and share them with you today. 10 days ago, this journey started with our mission manager, Sean Duvall, knocking on my door in crew quarters and whispering, "Christina, we're go for launch. Get up." And it ended last night when my nurse on the ship put me to bed, and said, "Ma'am, can I get a hug?" So a lot has happened since then, but or between those two moments, but the start and the end were human moments here on Earth. So several years ago, I was giving a speech and I was doing my usual talk about crew and crewmates and teamwork, and someone asked the question, what makes a crew? What is different about a crew than a team? And I was like, I got this. Opened my mouth confidently to tell them everything I knew about being a crewmate. And everything that came out of my mouth was completely without value. I was like, yeah, crews, they're in space, and they work together, but they eat together too. So, they're a crew. And boats have crews. You're a crew if you're on a boat. Helps if you have a paddle. That'll be good. That'll make you a crew. But the last 10 days, I've gotten a little bit of a better answer on that question. A crew is people, or, a group that is in it all the time, no matter what, that is stroking together every minute with the same purpose, that is willing to sacrifice silently for each other, that gives grace, that holds accountable. A crew has the same cares and the same needs, and a crew is inescapably, beautifully, dutifully linked. So when we saw Tiny Earth, people asked our crew what impressions we had. And honestly, what struck me wasn't necessarily just Earth, it was all the blackness around it. Earth was just this lifeboat hanging undisturbingly in the universe. Uh-oh. So I may have not learned, I know I haven't learned everything that this journey has yet to teach me. But there's one new thing I know, and that is, planet Earth, you are a crew. Yeah. Thank you.
You've made it halfway through the initial crew talking. Let's jump across to talking about some UFO disclosure. We can jump back to the place where we're currently at on the broadcast in a second, if I can go ahead and quick time to go ahead and believe it. How about that? Yeah, on the main story of the day, if we go ahead and get this up here and get it, so I'm actually on the screen. Here we go, along good old Mike. So here we are, back again talking about this. Representative Tim Burchett says names, dates, and people and locations set to be revealed in classified UFO briefings that were made known to him that are going to be made public next week. Yes, next week, as soon as it could be. It may not be everything, but we've got a lot of. There's a lot of stuff they brought together of those initial 46 videos or 48 videos that were requested by Anna Polina Luna. Tim has been a staunch supporter of disclosure going on for the longest time. Let's go ahead and get this video up, and we'll talk about it. Here we go, folks.
This is about UFOs. I couldn't let you out of here without asking you about that. You've said you've seen UFO briefings that would, quote, set the earth on fire, end quote. And you also said publicly, you're not suicidal. That's a serious statement. What exactly are you being told that the American people aren't allowed to hear, sir? About
well, we go into what's called a skiff, and that's kind of James Bond room. It's lead lined. You can't take a cell phone. You got a Fitbit. I don't. But I've been in those rooms and they'll say, hey, somebody's still getting a signal. Somebody's got a cell phone, and somebody will check their, oh crap, that's my Fitbit. Sorry, it's my whatever. And they have to go out of the room. And we're briefed by the highest level of either our military intelligence, these alphabet agencies, and they tell us things, which again, you've got one group telling you within some of these things that they don't exist. One time this little punk with a freaking man bun, and then you got these military people telling us that something does exist. And I've been briefed and seen pictures and talked enough, but you got to realize too, it's all about the money. And is this a psyop or what? Are they putting this garbage out there so that people will say, gosh, we need to fund these agencies more, and so we can research it more? I'm not into all that. It's not about little green men. It's not about flying saucers, sir. It's about what are they spending tens of maybe billions of your tax dollars on? If it doesn't exist, then why are they studying it? And if it does exist, as I told President Trump the other day, you need disclosure. We need transparency. America can handle it. I'm sick of hearing this stuff. We can't handle it. It's, and I'm a Christian, and they appealed to me on that level. Burchett, this stuff's kind of anti-Christian, in your beliefs. I said, no, it isn't. Genesis 1, God created the heavens and the earth.
What do they look like? What do they look like? Can you tell me? I mean, you've seen Independence Day. You've seen aliens. You've seen a few things. What do they look like? Give me that one.
Well, it's not Independence Day, I'll tell you that.
Okay. I got you. What can you tell me?
But they're gonna, if they would just look, if they would just release what I was briefed on just a couple of weeks ago. Again, we had somebody come in there, a colleague, a friend, if you will, that was basically there to disrupt.
Okay.
And they tried to ruffle this guy's feathers and ask him stuff. And sir, he named names, dates, people in the meetings, where these items, if you will, are located. And it's too much. It's too much, sir. It's too much is going on. But don't believe any of this stuff you see on the internet, this AI stuff. I wouldn't believe it unless I saw it with my own two eyes. Okay?
All right.
So, but Trump's the guy to do it. If anybody will do it, if anybody's a disruptor, it's Donald J. Trump, and he will disrupt with this. And I had a conversation with folks at the White House today just about that, and we're going to be, hopefully some things will be coming out soon.
So things coming out soon, as soon as next week. A date has been floated, Mike, as far as it potentially being April 14th. How about that?
And what are we supposed to get on the 14th so far, Thomas? A list of names?
We're getting some videos. Not
actual
all
videos or names of videos?
Yeah, actual videos is what's the word out there right now. We may not be getting all of them, but we're going to be getting some of them.
Yeah, well, you know what? We'll take whatever they want to give us.
Yeah, it's a start.
See what it shows. Yeah,
we're not going to get everything all at once, and don't forget, we're not going to get anything that has anything to do with any of our CIA devices, any of the stuff that's been developed by Lockheed Skunk Works, any of the stuff that's been militarized as offensive or defensive technologies. The only things we're going to be getting is what Lou Elizondo said last year. We're going to get an acknowledgement. Is that enough?
Yeah, no, it's not enough for me, but we'll take whatever they give us right now and see where it goes.
Yeah.
Did you hear when that fast-talking schmuck, Stephen A. Smith, was talking all over Burchett? One of the questions he asked Burchett was, what do they look like? What do they look like? He asked him Independence Day. And Burchett responded. He told him, no, it ain't Independence Day. So I caught that.
Yeah.
I think it's very interesting. We know that the Steven Spielberg Close Encounters movie was more like a home documentary.
Right. The first one he brought out. Let's see what the second one is. The second one's about consciousness and everything a lot more, which they say there's a lot more woo to the whole disclosure thing that a lot of people have been led on to at this point. And, come on. There's even screenshots of crop circles that were being created, right? That match to designs we've seen in the sky that were captured about 3-4 months ago by Greg O'Brien, just north of D.C. and in Maryland. Same freaking designs that they have in those crop circles. So he's not just getting this information, pulling it out of somewhere dark and stinky. No, he's actually got some good information in there once again. Don't forget, I mean, even Lou had said he never watched Close Encounters of the Third Kind as a kid, but watching it as an adult, with what he knows now, he said he absolutely had people on the inside feeding him this information.
Well, we know his one of his lead people giving him information was Jacques Vallée.
Yep.
Steven Spielberg. So we got it right from the horse's mouth. A lot of information.
So all of this going on right now, the only reason we're going to get it is because Trump has gone out and said he's going to bring it out. Why not? Now, there's already people. Christopher Sharp from the Liberation Times in the UK came out today and said, okay, Trump said he's going to bring it out. So if we don't get disclosure, I blame Trump. Wouldn't you blame all the other presidents there before that? And look at that, we actually have someone who's in the White House who's, even though he's been on a quote-unquote need-to-know basis, he's still trying to move forward with this. And I think Burchett put it poignantly with regards to he's someone who likes to make a change, and if something has never been done before, he's the guy to do it. He's a disruptor.
I think we need a new catchphrase. If we don't get disclosure from Trump, and we need to make the point that we haven't gotten disclosure from anybody.
Right.
Or we're not going to get it. That's the simple answer, one way or the other.
Yeah. You know, at least there's a movement. There's something to talk about. There's something happening. And it sounds like it's happening sooner than later. Now, this isn't a reason not to file your taxes, folks. Get them in if you haven't gotten it done. But, you know, there's a momentum building. And that's a good thing for us. We've been doing this show for way too many years. You know, when we had the first things came out about what was going on with the UAP task force, we had the first UAP task force hearing that came out. That kind of stirred all this going. Actually, it started back in 2017 when Lou Elizondo left the DOD, the Pentagon, and started dropping videos and talking about things and getting this old classic ufology, if you want to call it dialogue, and getting it more towards nuts and bolts and science and getting us towards a modern disclosure.
Right. Which would be the new golden age of disclosure from 2017 to now.
Yeah.
We really got the ball moving.
Oh, absolutely. Really quick. Andy, you have your hand up, my friend. Go ahead.
Yeah. So we seem to be in a bit of a hiatus with this little dust up going on over in Iran, you know, so it's not quite peace, it's a bit of a hot peace, but you know, your government, your president is going to have a little bit of free time on his hands. Yeah, maybe now's a good time to start releasing some information.
Yeah. You know what it comes down to, Andy? They say a lot of times it's not, you know, we need to wait until we get everything. If they have stuff coming together, have a press conference, have a briefing, have something out there for the general public. We don't have to have everything all at once. You know, the whole drip thing or a little light flow would be good for everybody, especially flow.
Well, we've had drip for what, 80 years, you know, nearly twice as long as I've been on this planet. You know, it's about time. Yeah, let it flow. You know, whatever information is there, let it come out. You know, yeah, you don't have to release it all in one go, but you bring one piece forward, another piece. We've just had your Artemis, you know, the Artemis astronauts, as we've seen there. They've just been out the other side of the moon. You know, I wonder if they saw anything, or whether, you know, they weren't really that interesting to anything compared with what happened with the, you know, the original Apollo landings.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So,
go ahead.
Yeah, you know, from what I've seen of the footage of these astronauts here, you know, they were very, very pumped up, you know, whereas when you all had Buzz Aldrin on all of those, his cadre, it was a completely different, you know, the look on their faces was so completely different. They weren't pumped up. They looked, as you said in the chat earlier on, they looked terrified.
They were in complete shock. We're talking about the first guys who went to the moon, actually landed on the moon and came back. Yeah, they looked totally freaked out. They looked totally in shock. And we've never seen that from astronauts before or after that. But something happened.
Also, as I said in chat, don't forget those guys were combat veterans. They were test pilots. These guys weren't, exactly averse to being terrified. If they were terrified doing what they were previously doing, they were dead.
Right.
So, to put those looks on those guys' faces, something happened to them. And to me, it didn't look as though they, had the look of people who'd skunked the world public. By doing the false, the Kubrick landing footage or whatever. So I think they genuinely did. They went to the moon, and they something happened to them up there that totally, what was it? A paradigm shift. They had their world paradigm changed.
Something more dramatic than going up to a big rock in the sky or a moon in the sky and coming back happened that never been let loose. Now, really quick, I do have, in regards to that, I have a recent interview with Jarek Isaacman over on CNN, and he gets in here and he's denying NASA never has seen or know anything. Let's go ahead and play this, and it's the usual dialogue they go through, but I think it kind of shows where NASA was, and they still have their feet stuck in the mud, and say, we haven't seen anything. Let's play it, folks. Here we go.
Before you go, sir, I would be remiss if I didn't ask a question on behalf of the millions and millions of Americans interested in space exploration, at least in part to solve the mystery of whether we are truly alone in the universe. Does the prospect of alien existence factor in at all into how we plan NASA missions?
I would say it goes to the heart of many things that we do at NASA. I mean, our job here is to go out and try and unlock the secrets of the universe. And one of those questions is, are we alone? So I would say that is inherent in every one of our scientific endeavors, our exploration endeavors. Even building the moon base on the south pole of the moon at some point will be able to incorporate telescopes that will help us continue this great search, not to mention all the subsequent telescopes that we're going to launch, like I mentioned, Nancy Grace Roman. So it's inherent in our mission.
Are we alone?
I've been to space twice. I didn't encounter any aliens up there yet. I have not seen anything to suggest that we've been visited by any intelligent life forms out there. But when you think about it, we got 2 trillion galaxies out there. Who knows how many star systems within each of it? I would say the odds that we will find something at some point to suggest that we are not alone are pretty high.
So there you go. He's saying, he hasn't seen anything, referencing his time and space. Now, don't forget, when they deal with this kind of situation, Andy, even with the President of the United States, it's on a need-to-know basis. And in his role at NASA, it sounds like that he's not on a need-to-know basis.
Yeah, I wonder how many people are of a need to know. And also, I want to say, it always, for me, you look at this planet, you look at where the life is on this planet, from the deepest depths of the ocean to the skies. Life is endemic. It's all over the place. You've only got to look out in space. Why aren't these things out there?
I mean, you look at even on Earth, you go down to the bottoms of the ocean with crushing depths, and it's cold. And then you've got these areas where you've got these vents where you have like boiling water coming out of these vents and stuff, but they call them extremophiles or extremophobes that are down there, and these, little creatures that are running around and, living there without a problem. No sunlight whatsoever, living at the bottom under high pressure, 20, 30 years ago, they would have said you're crazy if there's anything living down there. But if stuff can live in those kind of environments, life is truly endemic across our galaxy and all the ones out there that we can see and can't even see.
Yeah, and also poisonous, for us, minerals that are totally poisonous to us. These things survive in it. And every vent, it's almost a different, it's almost as though they're on a different planet. These creatures are different from one vent to the next. You lose a vent, that's a whole ecosphere gone, kind of like look at it exactly the same as you look at different planets. Every one of these vents is in itself a different planet.
Yeah, that's true. Really good point, Andy. Now, talking about the need-to-know basis, we've got a clip here of Tim Burchett, who's been out there. He's been quiet for the longest time. Mike and I had been wondering what the heck happened to Tim, because all we had heard for the longest time was Representative Anna Polina Luna talking about everything, and even when they were together, she was almost stealing the mic from him to go ahead and take the spotlight. Tim has had a lot of time recently on his own to go ahead and talk to the public. Here's another one where he's over on News Nation talking about, that our president is probably on a need-to-know basis. And I'm sure that didn't go over well with Trump once he figured that one out. Let's play it. Here we go, folks.
There's credible proof that there's something else that's going on. And the military and all these alphabet agencies, they'll publicly say one day they don't exist. This is all baloney. But then they're spending tens of millions, maybe billions of your dollars researching this. It's not about little green men or flying saucers, ma'am. And you as a member of the media, it shouldn't be. It should be about what are we spending this money on? Why is there not transparency? Where is this money going? And that should be the discussion. And I've talked to the president. He's going to have to ask some tough questions of these agencies. And why am I in a meeting with somebody who tells me the president is on a need-to-know basis? That's a very chilling statement to make, that someone has that much power, an unelected bureaucrat. Sometimes it's some little punk with a man bun who's got a smart aleck attitude, and you're sitting there with military professionals, and you can just read them that they are disgusted with this little punk that has authority over them. And that should be something you should be discussing. But the money is going into something. Quit telling me they don't exist. If they don't exist, then dadgummit, quit looking for them.
There we go with the comment again about the man and the man bun. Mike, your thoughts?
He keeps bringing that description of that individual up a lot lately. So I don't think that's something he's just throwing out there. He must have had a run-in with an individual of this
type. With a man bun.
Yeah. Now, the question that I would have is by what authority, especially if this is an unelected official, is he throwing around that the president doesn't ever need to know? Based on what? And if Burchett knows who this is, don't you think that Trump should be looking into what this is all about, what's going on? Are we supposed to get more information about something concerning this? You said, what, April 14th?
Yep.
All right, well, maybe they'll talk about this, because I think it's very interesting if there's that degree of uncontrolled power that nobody is aware of or can do anything about, is running around and laying the law down like this.
Yeah.
Hopefully Burchett will bring it out.
Hope so. Hopefully, it's Burchett with his voice right now talking about what's going on. More importantly, the man who's going to be able to bring it out is the President of the United States. Let's, hope he likes to be disruptor that he likes to. Hope he likes to do things that have never been done before. He likes to go down in history for things. So,
well, now he'll have his opportunity.
Yeah.
He really wants to do that.
Yep.
So the floor is his.
Yeah, absolutely, my friend. Absolutely. Jump back into the studio for a second here. I can get up the next piece we're going to go with. Yeah, a lot of things going on in Disclosure. It's been a busy week. We've covered a lot of different things, and we're here to try and go ahead and make sure we've got it all covered for our friends in the UK. Let's see what I've got here next. All right, this is one that's going out there. There's a picture going around of something that looks like a star kind of ship that's out there that's been on social media. It's been over on Reddit. There's been some warnings on it saying, hey, this is not made with Google AI, that it's been cropped, versus another one that's been modified with Google AI. Let's bring this one up for the audience so we can go ahead and talk about it. Let me get to, all right. Here we go. A little too small. Let me shrink this down one, get it up again. We can make it a bit larger. Come on, there we go. So what are we talking about here? We've got some kind of a ship that's out there, something that's over the water, something that has a, come on, star kind of shape to it that looks unlike any other kind of a UFO that we've seen before. Not to say that's not a bad thing. It could be a good thing.
Have you really examined this image?
Yeah, I have.
Okay. Did you pick anything up out of the details of how this thing is, the green square cross in the middle?
Those apparently are from an existing system that this was being recorded on, and it looks like something potentially. We're looking at a device recording another device that's taking this picture. I know,
and it's just a pink star.
A pinkish colored star. Yeah, there are some ones out there where they've gone and modified it with AI. This is the one that's out there where they're saying this one wasn't something that was actually, if you want to call it, modified with AI. There is another one that's out there that looks almost identical that was cleaned up a little bit, and that was tagged as being made with, let me go ahead and get this
AI.
AI. Let me go ahead and bring this one down again. And bring it up. Come on. There we go. This is the other one that was out there. Looks almost the same, but it may have been cleaned up a little bit. So people like to go into AI and take things and say, improve the clarity of the image.
So why don't we do a poll for the audience?
Sure.
And let's see what they think. Is it live or is it AI?
Okay, star-shaped UFO, real, fake / AI. See what our audience says. Okay, let's go ahead and get up the music, and I will remember hopefully to turn it off when it's done. Let's get rid of that. Let's go. Okay, Google, set a timer for 1 minute and 30 seconds, please. Okay. All right, folks, we've got 1 minute and 30 seconds to go until this is your chance to go ahead and let us know, what do you think? Is this star-shaped UFO? Is it real? Or is it just something fake or AI? So far, Mike, we've got it. It's nearly a tie. We've got 53% of our audience with just 39 votes in saying that it's real, but now it's 50-50 and it's flipped to fake / AI is coming in the lead. What are your thoughts on this?
It's, if you're not sure, I would have given a third option, unknown or not sure.
Right.
Which I think everyone would have jumped on the bandwagon with. Because I don't know what the hell it is, to be honest with you.
Kind of reminds me of the craft that Kal-El was in when he came to Earth as baby Superman. Probably not, though, but either way, Mike, this is neck and neck, which is 32 seconds left. We've got 67 votes in already. I think this is a flat-out tie, and I haven't seen a tie like this in a while.
Yeah.
50-50, 21 seconds left.
Yeah.
Come on, audience, this is your chance to vote. See where you take it. For me, unknown would have been a good one. I'd like to say it's real, but it's hard to say that it's real. You know what I mean? And you'd like to say it's fake, but we don't know if it's fake.
I don't know what the hell it is, so I can't really commit.
Yeah. All right, audience. We're end the poll. I'll bring it up, and let me take a screenshot of this first. Okay, Google, stop. Let's go ahead and get that down. Let's end the poll. There we go. Final results are 51% of our audience said it's real. 49% of our audience is saying it's fake / AI, which means there's no real strong contender here.
No, it means they don't know.
Yeah.
That's the reality of it, but we knew that. Yeah.
It's good to ask the audience because sometimes they'll see. So, let's move on and get on to the next part of our stories here, what we're covering. Get back over to here so I can get up the next piece that I'm going to go ahead and bring up. Okay, what do we've got going next? All right, so we covered this one last night. Timber, not a lot of people are happy with AARO these days for a good reason.
Kidding.
It's been a catch-all it's been a cover-up. Let me turn off that pull music. Thank you very much. It's a catch-all, meaning they've been bringing in whistleblowers. Whistleblowers don't even want to go and talk to them because when they get brought in, they're put under new NDAs and they're shut down from even talking about it. It's like, what would you call a classic flypaper operation?
Yes, flypaper. They keep everything on the inside and nothing escapes to the outside.
Yeah.
It's terrible. So what about AARO?
I've got the document here, I think. Let me double check it. That's Pete Hegseth. Thought I put the document on my frickin' desktop last night. Give me a second here to find where I frickin' drag those files to so I could bring it up and look at it. Let me get to my desktop here and just take a look at the files. Date added. Come on, at the top. Added. There you go. Yesterday, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There we go. Let's go ahead and bring this up. Got this one down. Bring it around. Okay, so what we're talking about is a bill. You remember the old cartoon where we're talking about a bill on its way to Capitol Hill?
Yeah.
All right, let's
do.
bring this one up and go with the audience. Thomas video. Yes. All right, let's make it nice and large so everyone can see this. I'll give you the greatest ability to go ahead and see what the heck we're talking about here. Let me zoom it up a little bit. All right, we're talking about a bill that is H.R. 8197 from this version, from this, if you want to call a session of Congress, to terminate the all-domain anomaly resolution office of the Department of Defense and for other purposes. So in the House of Representatives, Burchett introduced a bill which was referred to as the Committee on the Armed Services in addition to the Permanent Select Committee on Intelligence for a period to be subsequently determined by the Speaker in each case for consideration of such provisions as fall within jurisdiction of the committee concerned. So we got to remember, what's her name? Senator Kirsten Gillibrand was recently asked about AARO. She's like, no, AARO's been very helpful, very useful. We need to keep AARO. But if AARO has been there as a branch to go ahead and disclose information to the people of the world for this matter, right? And all they're doing is they're covering it up and they're not releasing any of the stuff that has been determined to be unknown / a UAP. They're not releasing any of that information at all. They've kept it all completely locked away. Why? For the reasons it's been cited recently is just, of course, those two magic words, my friends, national security.
Drink up, everyone.
Oh, yeah. Let's go ahead and bring this up. So it's a bill to terminate the All-Domain Anomaly Resolution Office of the Department of Defense and for other purposes being enacted by the Senate and House of Representatives of the United States of America and in Congress assembled. Section 1, termination of the All-Domain Anomaly Resolution Office. The termination requirement not later than 60 days after the date of this enactment of this, the Secretary of Defense shall, let me get to the next page. Page 2. Up so we can see it. Here we go. Shall A, terminate the All-Domain Anomaly Resolution Office. Let me make it a little bit. There we go. B, transfer the functions of the office to other elements of the Department of Defense as the Secretary deems appropriate. 2, prohibition. The Secretary may not establish within the Department of Defense and the Director of National Intelligence may not establish within the Office of the Director of National Intelligence a single office or other entity similar to the All-Domain Anomaly Resolution Office that exercises comprehensive or centralized authority over matters relating to unidentified anomalous phenomena. Repeal. Section 1683 of the National Defense Authorization Act for fiscal year 2022 is repealed. Confirming amendments, accounting of the Security Classification Guides, Section 1673 of the NDAA for fiscal year 2026 is repealed. Record 1673 of the James M. Imhoff National Defense Authorization Act for fiscal year 2023 is hereby amended. page 3. He is not leaving any prisoners on this one, Mike. Let's get to it. In subsection A, by striking acting through the head of the office and each place it appears, and in subsection B3 in subparagraph by striking the office and inserting the secretary, and in subparagraph B by striking, quote, the head of the office and inserting, quote, the secretary, and in subsection D by striking paragraph 6. The National Archives, section 1842C of the National Defense Authorization Act for fiscal year 2024 is amended. In paragraph 2 by striking including the all-domain anomaly resolution office, each place it appears. He is, again, leaving no prisoners. B, in paragraph 3 by striking the all-domain anomaly resolution office and inserting the Secretary of Defense. Made by this section shall take effect 60 days after the date of the enactment of this act. Where is page 4? Let's get to page 4. We're almost done, folks. Here we go. Definitions in this section. The term transmedium objects or devices means objects or devices that are observed to transition between space and the atmosphere or between the atmosphere and bodies of waters, but not immediately identifiable. The term unidentified anomalous phenomena means airborne objects that are not immediately identifiable, transmedium objects or devices, and submerged objects or devices that are not immediately identifiable, and the display of behavior or performance characteristics suggesting that the objects or devices may be related to the objects described in subparagraph A. So, Mike, what we've got here, he's talking about these different things. He's not talking, if you notice, about things coming from space, which we've heard about in the past.
Right. No, he is targeting anything to do with AARO as an organization and its connection to the United States government. He wants to completely remove and, like an abortion, remove this organization like it never existed.
Right.
From the Department of Defense. I agree. I think it's a good bill.
Yeah.
I think it should pass. This is something that should have been done a long time ago.
Yeah, but one thing I do want to point out, as she pokes in on us one more time, that doesn't mean Susan Goff is going away. Nope, she's not. Why? Because she's outside of AARO. He happens to be the PA who handles AARO, but she's also the public affairs officer who handles all requests for anything that relates to UFO, UAP, etc., right? Within the entirety of the federal government.
Right. So AARO can go away, and she'll still be there.
Right.
Trump can go away, and she'll probably still have her job.
Yes.
Doesn't matter. She's not going anywhere.
No, not anytime soon, unfortunately. Which means unless she gets a different order from her boss, which is Pete Hegseth, she'll continue to do the same job she's been doing.
You're right. Andy has his hand up.
Go ahead, Andy.
Yeah, I find it, Susan Goff, she's laughing at everybody, isn't she? She's fallen on her feet in that job. How long's she been in that position? 16 years?
Going on 17, yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty good for anybody in that kind of position to land on her feet. She's not going to give up a cash cow, is she? For unless she's actually forced out. And I don't blame a woman, to be honest. Whether we're friendly with her or not. I have no dealings with the woman or anything, but you got to give her her due. She's keeping herself in a good job there.
Yeah. She's an unelected official, Andy. That's been through multiple administrations in this country, and will be continuing to be around through future administrations. But I want to see if Burchett can get rid of AARO. That's one headache that needs to go away for disclosure. They got to go.
Yeah.
So Burchett's on the right track.
I'm in 100% agreement. AARO is, as you said, it's a flypaper. It's designed to lure these people in who want to be whistleblowers, and then it ties them into NDAs, so they can never be a whistleblower. Once they've said their first piece of information and they go to AARO, they're locked in. They're done. You might as well throw them on the trash pile. But Susan Goff, she. We've talked about these. Even your president, your politicians, they're there for 4 years, whatever. They move on, they go. the likes of Susan Goff. How many, actually administrations has she sat through now? How many has she been? 6.
4. Well, she's been there for 16 years, so through 4 administrations.
Yeah. Unless they actually bring every piece of information out, like you say, she's not going anywhere. She's probably on a really good living, and I don't blame the woman.
Yeah.
So how are we?
Doesn't have a huge budget on beauty care products.
Yeah. How are we going to get around the situation of her? I would happily see her.
Well, she needs a new boss
into the twilight.
Or her boss needs to give her a clearer direction on where they want this to go. Maybe she could turn into something a lot nicer and everything if they open the doors of things she can actually release. She's not going to be this person who's a stalwart, but more of a facilitator.
Is she doing exactly as she's been asked to do?
Yeah.
Been ordered to do. That is probably the case. I don't know how she sleeps at night, but probably the good paycheck helps.
I'd rather not know. Hanging upside down in a coffin? Maybe, I don't know. So, this is one thing I didn't get. I brought this up earlier. Christopher Sharp from Liberation Times, great guy. It's a great, we support the Liberation Times here at Disclosure tonight. He's an independent journalist and has been bringing stuff out. This is what I don't get. UAP James is talking about what Burchett is bringing out, and where he was saying Rep. Burchett moves to terminate the Pentagon office with new legislation. But then Christopher says if UAP transparency falls, it won't be AARO's fault. It would be the fault of Trump. AARO has no power to declassify. Trump does. But under their initial charter, they were supposed to find stuff. And if they didn't know what it was, they were supposed to ship it off to someone else. And part of their job was disclosure, I believe, wasn't it?
It was. It was supposed to be to reveal to the public the objects that they were looking into that could not be prosaically explained.
Right.
And they did the opposite of that.
They're all supposed to go ahead and gather and give us a historical context, which the first one was nothing but bullshit, and the second one, over a year and a half late, nothing but crickets on that. Then they were all supposed to give us a yearly update, a yearly pulse check. And the last pulse check is it's over a year late at this point. So even what they've been put in place to go ahead and do and deliver to the people of the world, they're not doing their job.
By law to report on.
Right.
They've completely broken the law repeatedly with no consequences and continue to do it. That's a problem.
Oh, it's a complete problem that just keeps on going, and it's not going to be going away anytime soon, I don't think.
Well, that's why Tim put that legislation together.
Yeah.
Something needs to happen.
Yeah.
At this point.
Yep, absolutely. Taking a short break away from what's been going on in the news with Disclosure, our friends in Ireland are protesting against the crazy high fuel taxes that they have and the cost of fuel and what their governments haven't been doing to go ahead and actually get fuel out of the oil fields in the North Sea off the shore of the United Kingdom. And they're not doing it. So what are they doing? Let's go ahead and bring this up here. Here we go. They've been going and protesting, and the way they know it, they've actually been doing blockades. Over half of the petrol stations in Ireland so far, Mike, are completely out of fuel.
Oh, my God.
Yeah. This is day 4 of the protests. Now, I believe what I've got going on here, if we get a little bit further down, yes, they are bringing the army in, though, to go ahead and start hooking up their vehicles and to actually start hauling the farmers' vehicles. But it's farmers, it's truckers, there's people there with vehicles. This is more from just the farmers protesting because they have to grow the food. And it's getting too much to actually, the cost for growing the food is getting out of hand. But then after they jumped in, the truckers jumped in, and now the average citizens are jumping in across the entirety of Ireland.
And they're helping them to protest the high prices.
Yep. Well, they want them to go ahead and get rid of the high taxes that they're paying on fuel at this point, because it's making, with the prices going up of what's been happening in the Gulf, their cost of fuel, like it is in the United States, has skyrocketed, but even more on their side. So, yeah, they're just having a hard time. Andy, your hand is up.
Yeah, I'm just going to caveat, don't forget, people, this is Southern Ireland. This is, not part of the United Kingdom. Now, I don't know how big the Irish Army is, Southern Irish Army, but that may well have been the entirety of their military wing with a couple vehicles. Yeah, good on them. They're suffering like the rest of us,
Yeah.
Here in the UK, we're and obviously everywhere around the world at the moment, is getting absolutely destroyed by the cost of fuel for your automobiles or your cars or whatever you like to call it. So yeah.
Oh yeah, and they've got their big vehicles, which of course they're filling up with fuel and everything, and bringing it in there and hooking it up to the to the farmers' equipment.
Yeah,
which it's going to take a long time.
They're not struggling for fuel. Yeah, they're not struggling for fuel, are they?
Of course not. Not even close.
So, yeah.
But even, it's not just happening in Ireland, apparently. It's this one back here for a second. It's happening now in France as well. So the French are starting to chip in. Similar reasons. Again, we'll see where it goes, and hopefully, things will straighten out over time. But I get where they're coming from. The costs of living have gotten crazy.
Again, on France, that's a daily thing in France. They're not, ashamed to go out protesting on the streets and locking it down. So yeah.
Well, you brought up about something here I want to cover really quick. That's the whole of their army. Well, it's not just the Ireland that has a problem with the army. It also seems there's a problem with it in the UK. We've got a statement here that's coming out. The UK, quote, could not deploy 1,000 troops to Europe. This is the Deputy Chief of the Defense Staff. His refusal to answer the questions tells you anything. Our military has been left tattered by decades of DEI, underinvestment, and terrible leadership. It's a disaster. Freezerman, go ahead.
Question I have for is why are these countries not having a draft? I now see the United States government, as of December of this year, if you're between the ages of 18 and 26, you have to inlet.
Well, we've had selective service where at the age of 18, by law, you have to go ahead and register for the draft. But we haven't had one since like 73. But there's a selective service. And what they did is, rather than making it selective, because rather than dealing with people who forget about it or don't want to do it, you're automatically now going to get signed up for it. Not that you're going to get drafted, but however, it's just automating part of our program that has never been properly enforced.
The problem here, where I am at, they can't get enough Army reservists. And the thing too is 3/4 of the male population in Canada, they're not fit for duty.
Really?
And that's a problem. Well, listen to him. My son is decided he's joined Army cadets, and I'm thrilled to pieces. But the thing is that he's in decent shape. He doesn't like sports, but he's not an obese kid. Most, kids are all on their phones now. Mm-hmm. Right? They get no physical exercise in schools. So you can bring on something like this, but if your male population isn't fit to serve because, they keep having to reduce, they have to keep lowering the requirements to join the Canadian Armed Forces. It's a joke.
Yeah, we've seen some of the recruits marching, and there's definitely an issue going on. I agree with you, my friend. Thanks for that insight. Andy, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm going to chip in on the UK. I've never been in the military. I've been around a lot of military people, and I can understand. There's been since we had the Cold War finish, the UK military has gradually been depleted. What is it? Peace in our time. The trouble is, peace is only fleeting, so they've cut an awful lot of money out on, we've given, and I'm not complaining about this, we've given an awful lot of our main battle tanks and military equipment to Ukraine. I think that's wisely used personally. we have an issue with some of our armored personnel carriers where they've created this new vehicle called the Ajax.
Yeah.
And they've had nothing but problems with this thing.
Oh, yeah.
So they're already years and years behind on the deployment of this. Yeah, I think, America has, all of you wonderful taxpayers or you're all funding your military. And yeah, you've got an awful lot of people to spread that cost for your military.
Yeah.
That's why you can afford these wonderful toys. I'm using toys in a very loose word there. So here in the UK, obviously our taxes have to be spread out an awful lot more because there's fewer people
as
about.
I think it was announced earlier this week that currently right now the UK's budget is now spending more money on benefits for people who are in the country than they're actually taking in from taxes from their citizenry.
Yeah, and I'm crap at the math, as you guys say, but even I can work out that's not going to work, is it? So
well, let me put this little clip here that kind of exposes where the UK's military readiness isn't. Shocker, folks. Well, let me take down the chat for a second so you can all see this well. Here we go. Let's just go ahead and play it. Here we go.
As Air Marshal, could we deploy a heavy division to Europe if the need arose?
Really
we have a number of land capabilities, and
yes or no?
Look, I think that's subject to where we are with our current equipment and our new equipment that's coming in at the moment. We know that we are short of where we want to be in terms of heavy capabilities.
I'll take that as a no. How about a heavy brigade?
Again, these are in our plans, but we are in the process of investing in the Army modernisation in order to do that, and that's something that we're recovering to over time.
A heavy battle group?
I'd probably owe you a better answer than one I can give you off the top of my head here in terms of the detail of the specific disposition of those different force elements. I think what I would say is we know that land modernisation is important. One of our targets under the NATO defence planning process is for a strategic reserve corps, which, as you know, comprises divisions and brigades. And those targets are set at a level where we are not at the moment.
Yeah, I think part of the problem can be, I'll get to you here really quick, is they don't have signs like they have over in Germany right now. These are the signs when they're putting up and saying, hey, we're hiring. Oh, I couldn't believe that. That's actually true, my friends. This is actually true. Let's get to it. Freezer Man, your hand is up. Go ahead.
Just a comment, and Andy, chip in if I'm wrong. But you could take the entire British Army and stick it in Wembley Stadium. And that's not all your trigger pullers. That's your cooks. That's your entire British Army you could stick in Wembley Stadium. Same thing with Canadian military, especially the Army. You could stick it in Skydome in Toronto. It's pathetic. And my country thinks that they can. Our government in Canada thinks that we're important. Our government in Canada has made us irrelevant on the world stage. I will tell you straight up. I think if there was a problem, the United States and Canada could not defend Alaska if they had to. I don't think they could. But that's all I got to say.
Yeah. Good points, my friend. Andy, anything back from you?
I'm going to chip in. I probably, I don't know the exact number in our military, but yeah, you're probably not far wrong. I've just put a comment in chat. For a previous hobby, I have a friend who collects World War II vehicles, World War II tanks to be precise, believe it or not. But he almost has as many tanks as the British Army can probably build. Yeah. It's a sorry state of affairs.
Unfortunately so, but you know what? There's always a way out of it. You just need to plan for it and act on it. Absolutely. Putting our sights back on Disclosure. Remember good old Colonel Carl Nell, the guy who was the author behind the UAP Disclosure Act, which they're supposedly bringing back for a fourth time. Hell again. All right, so breaking. let's get into this. Carl Nell's company, we haven't heard about this. Retired Colonel Carl Nell, who corroborated David Grush's UFO testimony, is the CEO of a company called Stardust X Materials. Stardust X got a grant for $125 million for metamaterials with negative refractive index. You know, think about this as maybe tech that makes UFOs invisible. Carl Nell, let's see now, runs the company with Air Force funding to build, reproduction UFO materials. Our quantum minds can see these ancient robot probes. Government plays dumb and knows nothing. Stardust X, who are they? Well, it sounds like they've got their hands in something fishy, but this is the way it usually goes. You get people who are in government, they learn a lot of knowledge, they leave, they either go and join a defense contractor, but in this one, he started his own. His tech, AI metamaterials with a negative refractive index, as we had said. This makes radar invisibility possibly now. It matches UAP thermal anomaly capabilities. What else doesn't do? He was part of defense networks from AFRL to DARPA to ONR to the Army. Timing of the grant was 2022. Testimony was in 2023. And breakthroughs listed for his company happened in 2024. Well, according to Nell's timeline, 2024 is a target for disclosure, but it sounds like Trump will be bringing us to it sooner than what Carl Nell had thought. Not sure if I trust the guy, but
I'm going to jump in as I'm already on screen.
Go for it.
It's quite amazing how these characters, these people, gain these positions, and suddenly get pushed into or move into companies that are creating these really outlandish products. Like you said, we talked about the Bob Lazar video interview he did with Area 52, and where he was saying he walked under this craft and he looked up and the craft merged with the sky. As far as I'm aware, the only way we've been able to kind of provide this sort of technology is basically cameras projecting from, filming the sky from above and projecting it from below. Mm-hmm. But these people like Carl Nell, they get embroiled. They get embroiled in these companies that are, really way out there technologies.
Yeah.
It seems I'm in the wrong job. Obviously, I'm not intelligent enough to go into a situation like these people. And certain people seem to find their place in these businesses, these companies.
Yeah, I'd have to agree. It's just one of those things we keep on looking at and seeing and knowing that it's just one issue that we want to bring out the truth, but there's just things in the way that are preventing the truth from coming out, more of money and, of course, those words national security. So I have a video clip. We didn't play this one last night, but this is where we have Jim Semivan, great scientist out there, going ahead and talking about disclosure and the inaction coming out of the federal government. This does predate what we're getting coming up, the announcements that it just happened in the last day or so about, disclosure coming from Trump later this week. Let's go ahead and see what Jim Semivan has to go ahead and say in this clip coming from the Soul Foundation. Here we go.
Right now, Congress isn't acting on this at all. They're not. I mean, they're making a point. I mean, they put up the legislation, but it wasn't. It wasn't a very strong push, and that's probably why it failed 3 times. And the executive branch isn't saying a damn thing. They just aren't. So I think what's happening here is, you don't see the courts intervening in this, and you certainly don't see a strong congressional pushback going against the executive branch. And you have the executive branch.
Really quick, I'm going to go ahead and jump in on here with this on you, Mike. We've heard before about the courts aren't moving things along. Isn't it the practice? I mean, what's the practice of the courts if they're brought up on the issue of national security? That's all right. So, answer the question myself on that one. The issue is that if a case goes to court and it's regards to national security, the courts, all the way up to the Supreme Court, will go ahead and, if you want to call it, stand behind the executive branch's call for national security and go with whatever the executive branch has been saying. It's kind of a, national security 3 times now with this phone, friends. Go ahead, take a shot. Let's play some more. Here we go.
Branch is basically staying in a line. They're basically letting things be as they are. They have been for the last 80 years. I don't know. I can't explain that. Kirk, you probably have way more experience than all of us combined in this, because you've seen this up front when you're dealing with legislation and pushing things through. I'd be interested in hearing what you have to say about that.
I would say that you're right, Jim, that Congress has not reached the tipping point on this issue. I think that's just clear. If Congress gets the bit in its teeth, it can become a sort of irresistible force, But that happens, and I've said this before publicly, that happens when they kind of know that there's a real issue there that they know exists, and they know that they're not going to be wrong or get egg on their face if they really force the issue, right? And that's when you have examples like the Watergate hearings and Iran-Contra, and the hearings on the CIA's domestic surveillance.
Watergate, but I think he's talking about constitutional crisis, and that's something where I actually have to bring up Danny Sheehan is really well-versed in all these different areas. Let's continue.
And things like that. So we're not quite there. And what's keeping them? What I hear from friends and colleagues up on the Hill is that they need some more whistleblowers that have direct evidence, firsthand involvement in legacy programs. So far, certainly publicly, most of what they've heard are people who admittedly are passing on secondhand information. So we have a kind of a chicken and egg problem here. You need more hard evidence, but the hard evidence to get that, you've got to convince people to take these risks to come forward. So this is a key issue in determining how this is going to play out.
Right.
Absolutely, it is a key issue. Now, one of the things, if I can find the clip here, well, actually, before we move on, Laura, go ahead. Your hand is up.
Yeah, they keep talking about more and more whistleblowers. What I think it's more about is really wrestling it out of the hands that already have it. Enough with the poor whistleblowers who are not protecting. I'll give you an example. We have the deadline on the 14th with the Pentagon that's supposed to release those images. And I asked on Thursday, Science Bob, and I knew that he had an experience with submarines and UFOs. So I asked if he thought that any of those images he was aware of or would be coming out. He said he was on a submarine when there was a USO, and also on a surface ship when there was a UFO. And he has those pictures, but he doesn't know if they're going to be the ones that they're personally going to be showing. But he did mention that he saw in someone's office a short video of a being. It was taken out of a window of an airplane, military airplane, and you could actually see a saucer with gray aliens in the window. I hope that comes out, but his belief with mine is that what they're going to show you is non-distinct images. That, so that's where I think the problem lies. There's the evidence, but
Bob's talking about that image, Laura, that you bring up, but that's something Lou has brought up for years and saying, yes, they have high definition videos of craft, of UAP, UFOs, where you can see the occupancy of the craft, which means you can see the occupants, and that sounds like the exact picture that you were talking about.
There you go. Just release it.
Yeah, bring it out. There's like a list of 46 or 48 different files they want to bring out. Hopefully, we'll get some of them, if not all of them, and it's just probably going to take some time.
They're going to be blurry. They're going to choose what they choose, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Or can't find them or destroy them somehow. It's going to be a mess. Just watch.
Oh, isn't that how it usually goes, unfortunately?
Yeah. Yep. That's all.
All right. Now, don't forget one thing. Who was it? Senator Rounds has said before he's talked to whistleblowers, and the primary whistleblowers he has talked with are literally, first-hand whistleblowers. So while first-hand whistleblowers haven't been brought out really to the public yet, they have been making the rounds in Congress.
Right. And yet there's Congress people that still want to keep the secret.
Yeah.
Some higher ranking, maybe some Republicans, not that there's bipartisan, but there's some that are laughing at Luna and her group.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting. Well, I've got a 10-minute interview here, it looks like, believe it or not, coming from Matt Laszlo from Askapol. I haven't listened to this one yet. It just showed up in my feed. This is something that came out yesterday. Let's go ahead. I'm going to go ahead and play this clip. I think the audio should be decent on how it's being presented. Thank you to Matt Laszlo for bringing this stuff out on X. Let's go ahead and let's play the clip, and we'll take it from there and react to it. Get to here. I should be able to. This a little bit different here since it's a little narrow. Let's go ahead and play it. Here we go, folks. Almost make it smaller. Okay, there we go. So we can see that and that. Okay, here we go.
Hey, brother.
Hey, how you living?
Just living the dream. I got this inner ear problem, so I'm having trouble hearing you. Hang on, let me turn the volume up there. I'll put it in my good ear. What's up?
I was just wondering if you had a minute. There's been so much news these past week or so.
Crazy, man. Matt Gaetz, when he said that, what he said, he didn't say that it was going on, that they're interbreeding with aliens. But he did say that he was briefed on it, and it was a military guy. And I remember, we get briefed on this stuff, individually. People come up and tell you stuff, and people want to meet with you, and you always do. And of course, he represented one of the biggest military installations in the country. So more military, I think he had more military people in his district than anybody in Congress. So, then I started asking me about it, and I was like, well, yeah, I hadn't seen it, but sure, I've heard about it. Everybody has. But anyway, what's up?
Do you, because it's kind of felt like you guys on the UAP caucus have been a little more talkative. Almost
We're just frustrated, brother. We're just frustrated.
Yeah.
And honestly, that's the only way we're going to get this stuff out is talking about it. And, it's a crazy thing with the news, what's going to go viral and what I've never quite figured out that magic formula. Sometimes I'll post something and think, wow, this'll freaking, I'll get 1 million views, and then I'll get 20,000, and then I'll post something, some obscure something, and all of a sudden it just goes crazy. And I don't know if it's the time of day or the day of the week or what it is.
I'm a media professor on the side, and I wish I could help you, but I can't. I don't know the science myself.
Algorithms or whatever they call them. I mean, they can, I'm sure some egghead tells you this stuff, but the reality is I just don't think anybody really knows what the magic formula. I mean, if you're Elon Musk, you can say anything and it'll, but I don't have that luxury anyway.
But I was curious if you, I was curious if you guys have had any communication with the White House or DNI or FBI. Like, do you guys, it feels like from what you guys have been saying, just more talkative out there, that you guys really feel like disclosure's coming.
Well, I go back and forth. I really don't think they're going to give us everything. I think they're going to try to hide it. You remember when I proposed that, disclosure, it was 2 pages long, and then Schumer comes out with this 60-page one that was a huge bureaucracy that was modeled after the Kennedy assassination committee, which we still don't, 60 years later, we still don't know everything there. And all they're going to do is hide something and hide it under national security. And that's what they always do. You know that, I know that. And it infuriates me, and that's hard to get by that, because you got all these guys that are just whatever the war pimps say at the Pentagon or around Congress. They just jump in bed with them regardless. You know, they're come over for all the money and everything else.
But then they're going to have these commemorative coins?
Hey, can I call you right back? I call my office. See about
Rhett Tim Burchett.
Hey, thanks for calling back.
I'm sorry, dude. That was my chief of staff. I got to pick her up at the office, and she was giving me I had to figure out turn on her heat, her seat heater or whatever, butt warmer.
Yeah.
You get those. You know, it's crazy. I was like, I never use that crazy thing, but I'm 61 years old, dude. I don't want to get in the car and get cold.
Heck no. I've got a bad back, so I love those.
Oh, hell yeah, I do too, man. It is the ticket and the lumbar support. Man, I just crank that thing up. All right. Hey, well, go ahead. I'm sorry, dude.
Well, no, I was curious. But what we were saying is, I was like, but then the administration's going to print these UFO commemorative coins? Like, doesn't that risk, if they don't do disclosure, doesn't that risk really alienating this whole community?
I didn't know anything about any coins.
Oh, no. There's in chat.
Send me the Can you send me, okay, will you send me information on that? I would love to know about that. Yeah, I talked to Trump about it on the morning of the State of the Union address. And I said, I just told him, I said, look, it's so many levels of this thing. I said, you can only peel, you got to peel back that onion. And I told him, I said, we need to get to the bottom of it.
Well, that's where I'm curious with the White House. Like, do they even know where to look? Like,
and I said that too. I said, we're going to have, and I told my liaison at the White House, he was asking me, what do you want to do about it? What do y'all want to do? And I said, well, we need to meet with the president, and they had to put him with some people that can tell him where to look and what to ask for.
I mean, because there is a chance that this stuff is in military contractors, so it could even be outside of the government.
Exactly. That's why they've done it. It's foiable. That's why I think it's going to be almost next to impossible unless unless Trump grants them some sort of amnesty to come forward. Huh. And that's just what they do. I just don't think, that's why I go back to, I really don't think we're going to get this information. The one shot we got is somebody gets to the president before the other side does and says, release it. And he pulls a classic Trump and does what he wants to.
Yeah.
And regardless, which in this case, I would love that. Wouldn't you?
Yeah. But that was interesting that on the morning of State of the Union, when you talked to him, he sounded receptive.
Very. Oh, yeah. I mean, yeah, he's always, I think he likes to upset the status quo, as I do.
Yeah.
He's tired of these arrogant people, because they're the people that have told me I couldn't run, and they told him he couldn't win. Yeah. I mean, it's the same mentality. I'm sure you've had, look, the reporters, I don't know, maybe they treat you different, but I see them as some of those reporters out there, they don't treat people like you and me with the same they would with somebody else. You know what I mean? We always feel like, in leadership, those guys, they kind of look down their nose at me.
Oh, yeah. They can tell that I come from 4 generations of landscapers.
Yeah. Well, screw it.
Amen.
The same old thing ain't working anymore, brother. You and I might not agree on anything other than we respect each other and we're friends. And that, and these guys can't get past that. They can't get past the fact that I'm sure the media doesn't like the fact that you and I talk so much, but I talk to you more than I probably talk to anybody out there on a regular basis,
Right. Well, I was also curious. So you have this new bill, you're done with AARO?
Yeah. I just think it just need to, and we've gotten some blowback from it. Somebody had called the office or something that, maybe we could restructure it or something. I'm tired of restructuring government. We end up with the same dadgum thing every time. And I just want to do away with it. I just think it's time.
My question, because I talked to Burleson and Luna when they were leaving the FBI UFO office, and back then they were like, oh, we think this is way better than AARO. Maybe this could actually replace AARO. My question is, so when AARO was created, it was created to be public facing and to, disclose and help the public understand this. That's not the FBI's mandate. They're internally focused. They love secrets. So that's where I'm curious if you think
I don't know that I just don't think there's a replacement of this. I think it's another trap.
Interesting.
I don't trust the FBI to do anything.
Well, that's interesting. You think there doesn't need to be an office?
Well, I just think we need total disclosure and do away with it all. That's what I think. That's my idealistic thing, because the FBI, listen, brother, all these agencies are doing, they laughed at the UFO thing, but they had people studying it. They had all these alphabet agencies, except maybe the IRS. I wouldn't put it past them. But they've all studied the UFO issue, and they got files on it. And because you and I met with every one of them, or I have anyway. And and now they realize that over half the population thinks there is something going on, and now they realize it could be a fundraiser for them.
I know, right?
And so, I'm really worried about the PSYOP effort, and that reeks of the FBI.
Wait, what's up with these 9? I believe on last count, like 9 missing scientists or whatever.
Well, there's more than that. If you go back a little further, it's just very mysterious, dude. And I say this statement. I came up with this analogy. It's like if you got a chef who's giving away all your secret recipes, and he's a high-profile chef and he's got a lot of knowledge, you're not gonna take him out, but you're gonna take out a few busboys just to send a message. And not that these people are busboys, but and they're outstanding in their fields. They are, but there's always somebody higher in that chain, and somebody's got to be looking at this thinking, "Wow, I'm gonna chill out on this stuff."
That's wild.
I'm not gonna be talking to any reporters. I just say, and that's why I always say I'm not suicidal. My wife says, "Why do you always say that?" I say, "Because it's insurance, honey. If I die of a heart attack or a plane wreck, or I get mugged, or I die of sleep apnea or something bizarre like that I have no history of, then somebody's going to start asking some dadgum questions."
So priority-wise, do you guys think whistleblower protections are still needed, even if the White House is saying we want disclosure?
100%. 100%. I just don't, because what happens with the next president, or, and then what happens if they say, oh, this is outside the realm of this. This is a national security. You're engaged in espionage, or some bull deal like that. So I don't trust the government. I am the government.
Right? Adulthood, isn't it grand?
Yeah.
Well, hey, brother, I know you got a day job. I'll let you get to your chief.
You pay my salary. Thank you, brother.
Great conversation. I didn't expect it to go this long. I'd probably have to say this is one of the best conversations I've heard with Tim Burchett so far. Laura?
Yeah, it's always entertaining listening to him. He just shoots from the hip. I just wish there were more Congress people like him.
More honest Congress people? Come on.
Well, congressmen, okay. It's they're just not. They don't have backbones, and it's all about the election and money and
money.
We're in a mess.
You hit the nail on the head on that one, I tell you. But yeah, he's a great guy. I'll love to see what he's bringing forward and everything. But what we do have here next is a clip coming from Senator Mike Rounds, who's out there going ahead and talking, saying he thinks Trump's doing the right thing with regards to bringing forward disclosure. He was one of the co-sponsors of the Schumer rounds, or Round Schumer UAP Disclosure Act. And let's see. And he's one who said recently that he's been hearing from firsthand whistleblowers. Let's see what Senator Rounds has to say on this one. Here we go.
I'm sure you saw the president last month. This was in February. I guess it's a couple months ago now. He ordered military officials to release files on alien life, UFOs, UAPs. Your reaction to seeing that is this has been an issue I know you have been pretty passionate about in your work in the Senate.
Yeah, look, on a bipartisan basis, we've recommended that they do two things. Number one, they make sure that any information they release does not give any additional information to our adversaries about our military operations, our military systems that are advanced in terms of stealth and so forth. But the second piece on it is information that we've got that could be at least put together so that it's not lost long term and that it is accessible so that a president could make a determination in the future about anything with regard to any unidentified flying object type material, that it be held closely but be made available so that a president could make a decision to release it in the future should he so decide. I still feel that way. I think I think some people have thought, well, if there actually was any contact with outside sources or entities that we simply don't know where they're from, I think the world is ready to hear if there is any of that out there. And I don't know of any, but I can tell you that there are things out there that we simply don't have an explanation for. Whether it belongs to China and we don't know about it, whether it's an advanced system that we have and the other agencies don't know about it, or if it's something that nobody seems to know about but it exists, then I think that you still want to collect that data, and at some point you need to be able to make it available to the American public.
So as a senator, it already takes a ton of courage to step forward and probably, I would imagine, say you want to see information released on this, and this is something you even took a bipartisan effort on with Minority Leader Chuck Schumer. How much courage do you think it takes for a president to call for this?
I think he's doing the right thing, and I really think he believes in transparency when it comes to these issues. I think it's a fascinating thing to continue to study as well. I don't know what it is. I just simply know that there are some things out there that we can't explain right now.
There we go. Wise words coming from Mike Rounds. Makes sense. He stands behind the president's move to bring it forward, and everything's pointing towards something later next week. We'll see where it goes. Hopefully it does. If not, if it's delayed a bit, we know that it's on its way. Now, yeah, this is a strong one. There's a comet heading our way. No one's been talking about it. It's going to be happening at the end of April. NASA, MIT, scientists have all been mysteriously quiet about it. It's going to be passing between us and the sun, right in the path of the Earth. So let's go ahead and bring up a video clip from Ben Davidson over Suspicious Observers talking about this because nobody else is. So let's get to it. Here we go, folks.
Good evening, folks. As promised, we are back with the inside story on what several major astronomy and planetary science experts are concerned about in just a few weeks' time. As always, I love having access to these people so nobody is getting outed, doxxed, or thrown under the bus for the public to gnaw at, but Comet Pan-STARRS has presented a unique and potentially scary situation, one that came to light too late to do anything about. We just have to hope the off chance doesn't hit this time. What they are worried about is this: the comet passing between the Earth and Sun, and the tail material coming with the solar wind. This is relevant because the path this comet is taking from the north, cutting down through to the south, brings it nearly right between Earth and Sun. Few days ahead, actually, but since the solar wind takes several days to reach the Earth, we may be directly in the tail spray zone. It is forecast to cut through the solar system equator and orbital plane of the planets on April 24th, which means the various components in the solar wind would be arriving here at Earth in a window from April 26th to April 29th. Now, I had already expressed a bit of concern from an atmospheric chemistry perspective. Several things about comets are pretty scary if there's a lot of it, but luckily, most of my concerns appear low risk right now. C2 fluorescence, and the indicated low cyanogens and low dust component take out my top concerns. Basically just the water and plasma I was concerned with. But after I made the original video, several of my contacts began contacting. They say I am missing the biggest concern of all with Comet Pan-STARRS. I've made a big mistake. And while I'm not sure I agree, I will share their concerns. One comes from a professor at MIT and the other gentleman works at NASA's Goddard Space Flight Center. The hypothesis stems from a theory that loosely came together only in the last few years. While most scientists completely ignore how much Earth's magnetic field is weakening as the magnetic poles are moving, others are trying to fit that square peg into the round hole of space debris and dust from satellites, rockets, and other things burning up on re-entry, which, they say, could use up the magnetic protection, so to speak, capture it, and decrease the magnetic field of Earth. Essentially, they're trying to say that the modern-day pole shift is our own fault, which is a bit silly. But the underlying hypothesis, not as a standalone explanation for the modern magnetic changes, but as sprinkles on top of the natural cycle that are making it a bit worse, now that's nuanced intelligent science. This paper from January hypothesized that microparticles were killing Earth's magnetic field and also destroying ozone enough to create a North Atlantic anomaly, like the one in the south. Yeah, there's one up north too. Sadly for them, there's really no way to concentrate the particles into that one spot. It would have to be a global thing, and the actual cause for the concentrated North Atlantic anomaly is the ongoing weakening of Earth's magnetic field, the shifting of the poles away from the Atlantic Ocean. But it is not a totally imaginary effect, and we're about to get a whole beast load of that microparticulate matter and plasma added to our system. Just this time, it's not coming from satellites or rockets. Hopefully it's not going to be too much. Comet tails are sparse and diffuse, and they diffuse further as they extend, but the particles and molecules do not disappear. There are always tendrils in comet trails of extremely dense material. We just have to hope one of those doesn't hit us. There's no time to do anything about it. To be clear, what they fear is a small but real risk that Earth will enter a tail tendril. It will temporarily dampen Earth's magnetic field, we will have a major ozone loss event, and in the weeks to months it takes for the field to recover, our electrified way of life, from continental power grids to batteries, will have no protection from a solar killshot EMP. Gotta admit, I didn't necessarily think too much until they shared the data on tendrils and comet tails. It's basically like a whip in space, and they aren't that hard to spot if you look. Also, there is both a gas and dust tail component, so that makes two different parts of the event. Those two are often visible as the comet is turning around the sun, and let's just say I really hope they are wrong. I hope we don't hit a tendril of a comet tail. The risk is low, it's just that the risk exists. At least there's not much cyanide or dust. Those were my big concerns, but apparently there are some big names who think I wasn't looking in the right direction. 2 to 3 weeks away and we find out, folks. I'll see you in the morning for the Daily Show. Be safe, everyone.
How about that? Laura, any word from your side from the remote viewing community? I know you had put in the chat, Stephen Burns is talking about this in his live stream earlier today. This one came from Ben, 23 hours ago, and he was talking about it a couple days ago as well. Something to be concerned about, or this is something that just going to be a light show?
I think I haven't heard anything coming up for the remote viewers, although they did April. We haven't done May yet, so who knows? They said a couple weeks. It probably will be a little bit more earthquakes, more, that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, stay positive.
Oh, yeah.
Or just, duck and cover in your basement.
If you've got one.
I don't know.
The best I have is a ground floor level, and I can go a couple feet under the ground in the crawl space under the other part of the house, but it's not truly a basement sanctuary.
Yeah. I'm not worried yet. I haven't heard a lot of dust up yet, so to speak.
Yeah, absolutely. Interesting day. Let's see if there's anything else here that I've missed talking about Disclosure. Just trying to cover all the stuff we've got out there. Happy Saturday, everybody. else we've got? Is there anything? All right, so we've got one more clip of Peter Skafish from the Soul Foundation. This is a short clip of him talking about confirmed rumors, or confirming the rumors that the U.S. had made contact with ET representatives. So let's see what the director of, or Dr. Peter Skafish from the Soul Foundation has to go ahead and say about this one. This isn't talked about a lot, but this sounds interesting as heck. Let's get to it. Here we go.
Many of us are, all four of us are familiar with very, very credible claims coming from people in a position to know, who say they know, that there has been a contact event, a very explicit, very manifest, obvious contact event, nothing that was liminal or elusive, that, something like a landing and an interaction. To me, if that happened, that means most likely there was an interaction with something quite like us that does have political interests, that does have, probably has law, probably has ethics, maybe very different from us, in which there's a great asymmetry of power and technology. And I don't know how you narrate that, while telling the truth. And I don't know how you narrate it the way it's been narrated to us, as if it just happened once. I have a very hard time believing that if that happened once, it didn't happen several times. But the version we've all heard is that it happened once. And what's implausible to me is not that it happened; it's that it would happen one single time, and then the interaction stops. Unless you really had no control of the interaction, you certainly would be attempting to have further interactions, further conversation, further discussion.
Interesting. So more conversation about the governments of the planet being and having conversations with the non-human intelligence. I guess we have to look at this and ask the question is, are we looking at something more of the farmer talking to his livestock, or the zookeeper talking to the animals that they tend, or is this just a visitor stopping in either of those and gawking at what's there and having a communication with it? I see a smile on your face, Laura. Any thoughts from your side?
No, but you have me totally focused on reports of meteor. The only thing I see, there was a real-time fireball alert over Houston that they did report ahead of time before it occurred.
Okay.
So future forecasting is really good. And they're so good that they were the ones that Luna was on Joe Rogan. And when she was saying the remote viewers, I recognized their work immediately. So that's what she was accessing.
Good to know she's talking to the right people.
Yeah.
Well, since you brought up Joe Rogan, quote, he talks about when the pole shift happens, there will be a global cataclysm. More doom and gloom, everybody. But you know what? Let's see where this is going to go. Yeah, we've all heard about the pole shift and what can happen, and the weakening of the overall magnetic field, and how there can be a crustal decoupling event, whether that's like the known ECDO event or others like Ben talks about. Something usually goes on any time the magnetic poles flip, and at a minimum, it's been shown every single time that happens, there is a flip. We get total climate destabilization, which could explain kind of what we may be heading for. Let's listen to this one clip of Joe Rogan talking to Duncan Trussell. Here we go. Let's play this minute and our 2-minute clip. All right, here we go.
When Fingerprints of the Gods came out, this was like maybe the beginnings of the whatever they were doing in Göbekli Tepe. So I think Fingerprints of the Gods might have been even before.
When did they find?
It was like in the 90s.
What?
Yeah. Nuts. So that rewrote the entire timeline of the human race.
How did they find it?
They're real reluctant to let it rewrite it. They still say, hunter-gatherers made these things.
Why? Why are they so reluctant with that?
They can't let that go. You cannot let that. That is a crazy thing to say. That hunter-gatherers have so much food that they just spend all their time making gigantic stone concentric circles from like fucking 15 feet stone with 3D animals carved in them. Yeah, primitive people with sticks and stones and rubbing them together to make fires.
Yeah, sure.
They did this?
Yeah, sure.
Shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
This doesn't make any sense. It's older than anything they've ever found. It's 11,800 years old.
Do you buy into the conspiracy theory that it's a cover up because they don't want us to know about this inevitable global reset that happens? You buy into that shit?
Well, it makes sense if there's going to be a global reset, right? Why would they tell us it's coming? People would freak out. It's kind of like telling us about aliens. Say, we can't tell you about aliens. People are going to freak out. But if the world's going to come to an end, and that's why all the billionaires have been buying their islands and building these bunkers and creating all this different stuff, that could be a real reason that people would then revolt against the billionaires, saying, if you're not going to save us, we're not going to let you save yourself. You never know where it could go. Let's play some more on this. Here we go.
I buy into that a little bit. Yeah.
I hate it.
I hate it too, because it seems like there's some accuracy to it. There seems like there is some sort of an event that happens when the magnetic poles switch. And that's possible. That's what makes you freak out. You're like, what do you mean that's possible? Like all of a sudden the Earth just does a gyro and spins on its head? And then what happens? And then what's the...
No, kind of. It's not that. What happens is when you go through the flip, there is a decoupling that happens of the actual crust of the planet, and it keeps on rotating, but the actual location of where everything is goes and shifts, and this stays for a period of time, maybe several thousand years, and then it comes back again, and it stays in the orientation like we have now. That's kind of what they're talking about.
What's the environment look like? What's the temperature outside now?
Yeah.
What the fuck just happened?
Right. See, that
all of a sudden you're in northern Alaska when you used to live in Florida.
Right, but what he's forgetting is when that happens, you get mile-high waves going ahead, crashing over all the continents of the planet, wiping out probably 95% of the life on the planet that survives. I mean, wiping out a majority of the life on the planet, and there's only going to be a small amount to go ahead and survive. It's a paradoxical situation, but kind of what they're leading towards.
And I think we can...
You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, dude.
Like that temperate environment changes like that.
Happens like that all over the universe.
Like, what does it do when it shifts?
Well, we act like...
Do we know?
We act like we know we don't know shit about what's going on inside the Earth. We don't know. We don't know what's going on in there. We could do this.
Why are you freaking me out?
Because I think about this all the time.
There you go. He thinks about it all the time. Likes the NASA outfit, but more and more people are talking about this. Yeah, I guess you need to get to a higher elevation.
Maybe
more importantly, along the lines of something over, 4,000 to 5,000 feet up there, at least a mile high, if not more. The higher you go, the greater the opportunity you have to go ahead and survive. But underwater bunkers, bunkers or something. But if you're going to be in a bunker in a place where it's going to flood, you better have a way to survive until the flood waters recede. But then when you try to get out, you're going to be running into a situation of you're going to have so much debris that's packed on top of your exit that there's not going to be an exit to get out of. It's just going to be you're trapped forever. So we'll have to see where all of this goes. Interesting things to talk about, to say the least. Wow. Great stuff. Let me go ahead and get myself in a place here. Desk, solo. See if there's anything else. Solo there. Let's go to it. Andy, go ahead. Your hand is up.
Yeah, as somebody from the UK, we never touched on it on last night's show. I just want to give thanks for Nick Pope and all that he did for the subject, and his sad passing on Monday. I never got to know the guy. I never spoke to him or had any dealings with him, but hopefully he now knows all the secrets of the universe wherever he's gone. So I just want to
Mike had talked to him a number of months back, and he was saying, well, I've got a lot of different things on my calendar and everything. When things go ahead and open up, we'll get in contact. But it really seems that that's probably what he was sadly referring to.
Depending on his schedule, Andy. He told me that, I talked to Nick. He was a nice guy. And it's a shame that he passed. You're right. I'm glad you mentioned that. But he was supposed to come on the show with me and Thomas and fill us in on things from his side of the fence of what he dealt with. But his schedule didn't allow or permit. And probably when I spoke with him, He didn't tell me at the time, but I'm sure he was also juggling his health issues, which is why he told me it was unknown. So now we know it was probably more than just his appearances that he had booked.
Yeah, more than just schedules. It was just he was dealing with all the different things going on in his life. Yeah.
Yeah, I just want to send love from the show to his wife, his family, and his friends, basically, and I just want to again in tribute. I want to thank Nick for everything he did. I'm sure he pushed the needle forward slightly. It's only saddened that he never got to see Disclosure in his lifetime. And
yeah.
I truly hope he knows what the hell is going on now, wherever he is.
Yeah, exactly. And this is something that I had posted within minutes of the news hitting X. I know we were off on Monday. I was out. Mike, I was feeling not so good. Mike was in the hospital, so we didn't have a show to cover it. Otherwise, we would have covered the situation live. Find this here.
That's correct.
Yeah. Let's get to guest Tom. Wait, no, that's not it. Yeah, this will work fine. This is what I had put out. This came from, with sadness and condolences, of course. This is a message from Nick Pope's wife with the picture she posted. Let me get this here. My heart is breaking. Nick passed away this afternoon from home. The last few weeks of his life, even as he suffered, he managed to do a few interviews from home. I was so lucky to have met and to have married Nick. He was a wonderful husband. I loved him dearly. A loss to the community, to say the absolute least, and we had a wonderful time. I mean, come on, he gave us the Calvine UFO photo. The whole Calvine incident, he brought that forward, and he was a regular on. When they were still producing it, Ancient Aliens, and he was one of the coordinators behind Ancient Aliens Live.
He was. Yeah, he did interesting work over the years.
Yeah.
Good for Nick.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely, my friend. It's great having you here from the situation you're running through, Mike. We wish you the best and feeling better.
I appreciate that, Thomas. From you and a wonderful audience.
Yeah.
Everything will be fine. It's just getting from here to there.
Did they finally get the IV back in you?
Not yet.
Stop
Still waiting.
scaring them away.
Yeah. Well, when you have a sonogram and you still can't find the vein, I have very little patience. But
yeah. Exactly, my friend.
We'll get it done. Don't worry.
Yeah, on that note, I want to go ahead and thank our friends out there who have given us some super chats today. We had actually one come in from Laura Campbell. Thank you very much, Laura. We appreciate your love and support for what we do here at Disclosure tonight. Thank you for the well wishes for Mike. Mike, thank you for coming out today, and hope you're feeling better.
I appreciate that very much. I do.
Absolutely. And as we usually say at the end of every episode of Disclosure tonight, eyes open, no fear, be safe, everybody, but...
Do you believe in the existence of extraterrestrials?
Absolutely. And we'll catch you on the flip side. Good night, everybody. See you soon. Take care now. Bye-bye.